Welcome to our Daily Bread. Today on the show we're going to make 3 dishes which would be great for large groups or large families. The first is a pasta with sausage and white beans. The second dish is going to be Kibbee. And then in our final segment we'll be making Cacio E Pepe, pasta with just cheese and pepper. So welcome to the kitchen today as I'm going to try a couple of recipes with you and for you, and it's going to be a great time, I think. And actually, even though it's a great time, we're going to be talking about a pretty serious topic, and that is foster care for children. Now, in our Diocese of Buffalo, we have an agency, Baker Victory Services, and they actually assist in placing children and young adults in these foster care programs. And we're going to learn a lot about that. And that's a really important ministry in many ways. Government is involved in it quite a bit as well, but it's a ministry for those of us who are Christian or Catholic or other people of goodwill too, just because it means trying to take care of those children who have nowhere else to go. I got about a pound of mild Italian sausage, which I cooked off in this skillet behind me. And then I'm going to keep the skillet, I'm not cleaning it out, it's got little remnants of the Italian sausage in it, just a couple tablespoons there of olive oil. As our base here, I'm going to put in a little bit of garlic. To me, that's a little bit. And a whole sliced up onion. And I'm going to start just cooking this down a little bit until those onions start to wilt and get translucent. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, there's that story about Jesus where people were bringing their children to Jesus and the disciples were shooing the children away. Get away from him. We don't want the noisy kids here. And Jesus stopped them and said, let the children come to me and do not hinder them, for it is to just such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs, Now, try to take that concept, the way Jesus treated and welcomed the children. Children in Jesus' day didn't have much value, really. But, to us today, hopefully we see that they do. But Jesus called these little children and he blessed them. And he took them right into his arms and he saw the value in every human life, even in the simplest of life, the youngest of lives. The youngest of lives. He saw the value in the elderly, the sick. There was the old woman who touched the tassel of his cloak, She was an elderly woman. She had a hemorrhage for 12 years, All of these people were important to Jesus. And if we're going to be true Christians, those of us who are, we need to follow the Master in the way that he has taught us. It translates to trying to show the value of human life at all of its forms, in all of its ages. And we also do that with kids who have nowhere else to turn. And for one reason or another, they have to go to foster care. And we're going to learn a lot more about that in the program today. Right now, I've got the mild Italian sausage. And that's all. I had cooked that already. So let's see how our pasta water is doing. Oh, it's bubbling. You want to put a little salt in your pasta water. For this dish, I'm going to use 1 pound of fettuccine. Now our breadcrumbs, I'm going to toast them a little bit. They're already starting to toast. You want to be very careful with the breadcrumbs because if you burn them, you just got to throw them out. It's like garlic. If you burn it, you can't save it. So I have some Italian-style seasoned breadcrumbs. I'm going to toast those on this lower heat. I'm going to keep this topping for the pasta going. All right, I'm putting in some sun-dried. You could use fresh tomatoes if you like. I like to use these sun-dried slivers because they add such a great color, but also they add a beautiful, really acidic flavor. They really pop out at you. Let's see, let me not burn these. Okay. So we got everything going here. We got our pasta cooking very well, which is fettuccine. We got our breadcrumbs, they're going to be fine. Well, actually, I'm going to put a little drop of dry white wine in there. I like to buy vermouth to use in cooking. It doesn't leave a harsh flavor. The alcohol will burn out, and it will actually be a way to soften those sun-dried tomatoes just a little bit more. So there we go with that. And the last thing I'm going to put in is a can of white beans. These actually are northern white beans. Okay, now our breadcrumbs, we don't want them any more done than that. I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in them, and that's going to kind of congeal them a little bit more too. See, and with a little bit of olive oil, a lot of them will kind of cling together. They won't make a big clump, but they'll be a little more hearty on our pasta. Now let's take and drain our pasta. Okay. Beautiful. I do want to get almost all the water out of this. So there we go. You know, I think it's nice to have big bowls, especially when you're cooking for a crowd and a family in particular, or a group of friends. On top of these, I am going to put all of this wonderful sausage, onions, beans, sun-dried tomatoes, garlic. Again, I mentioned to you, I made this without any cheese or that, just so that those who were lactose intolerant could enjoy it as well. This is as dark as I would want these breadcrumbs, no more, just that way. And we'll shake them with the top. And like I said, we put it on instead of cheese because it adds a nice dimension and a little bit of a crunch as well. I think that's enough. I'm going to do a little more touch of salt, a little bit more pepper. Now I'm going to, fresh basil, you know, is a favorite of mine. There's almost nothing like it. And it does just give you that final, that beautiful floral basil that is like no other flavor. I love the basil. So I'm gonna cut this up. And I usually with my pasta, with all my pasta, except if it's a red sauce, but almost all other pasta, I put a little sprinkle of olive oil over the top, just almost like a condiment, you know? And we will sprinkle the basil over. And maybe a little, look nice there, huh? Now, that didn't take too long, did it? The trick with pasta, of course, one of the tricks is you got to serve it right away. Pasta waits for no man or woman. And you know, when I'm talking about waiting, kids who are waiting in foster care, their wait seems sometimes very long, so they need more people to come forward to volunteer. There's plenty of things you can do to make the difficult and emotional changes in their lives maybe just a little bit easier. And we're going to talk about that with Deacon Paul Snyder after we come back on Our Daily Bread. Welcome back to Our Daily Bread. Today we're talking about foster care and some of the implications of foster care and what people are doing to minister to those who are in foster care. And we're making 3 recipes today. I started with a pasta dish with no dairy in it that's still really tasty. Deacon Paul Snyder is joining us now, and he's going to make Kibbee. And then Virginia Ginny Goodremote from Baker Victory Services is going to be with us, and we're going to maybe teach her to make Cacio E Pepe, it's called. It's a real classic, simple Italian dish. So, Deacon Paul, here we are.
Yes, Father, here we are.
Here we are.
So we have 3 pounds of double ground lamb. This is very
Do you want to say hello or anything, or tell me what you're doing?
Father, how are you? Father, how are you?
I'm lamb. Just, you know,
absolutely. So it's good.
You don't have to shake my hand.
I'm not going to. I'm just saying it's good to see you, Father.
Yeah, because we washed our hands.
We did wash our hands. Yeah. So, Father, this is...
Look at, so you're involved in foster care.
Yes, we are.
But what basically, we're going to get in the recipe, but basically, and then we'll explain it further, what are you doing in foster care?
We have, at any one time in Erie County, approximately 1,000 children in foster care. And we have 10 agencies like Baker Victory Services serving those children. Unfortunately, these children don't have all the resources that they need and often are forced, after they lose their home and their families, to carry their little worldly belongings in trash bags. And so we've got a project called Care Cases that will put items for these children, clothing, teddy bears, blankets, personal care items, a book, crayons, into a rolling case that is for that child, for them permanently with their name on it, so that they have something to call their own and they have some integrity in their life and some hope. And we give these through the agencies.
Okay, so it's one of these like pull behind, almost like a little, like you see the kids going to school with their pull behind bags. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Nice.
And so this is for the children also to put their little belongings into them so they have something to call for themselves.
What age group would be getting these
So
approximately?
all ages. So foster care is children from infants up to late teens. And
Okay.
so we do these age appropriate so that we set these bags for the children based on what the agencies ask us that they need. Because these will go through the agencies to the children. But we can solve this. We can end the use of trash bags for these children in our community.
Great. Now we're going to start a little bit with the recipe. I'm going to ask you more about that. But
Yes, sir.
You're going to make kibbee, which is a classic Lebanese dish.
It is. It's my Situ's recipe. Grandmother.
Your
Lebanese.
grandmother. Okay. And you are of Lebanese descent.
I am.
Okay. Now we're starting with lamb. Oh, I love lamb myself.
It
but
just
yeah.
has to be double ground and extra lean so that when you put it together, you taste the ingredients, not chew it like you would typically in lamb.
Sure.
So in any case, we have the 3 pounds of double ground lamb.
Okay.
Now we have to add the other ingredients. This one is wheat germ.
Now when you go to the store and buy wheat germ, do you just buy, does it say wheat germ on the box?
It says wheat germ on the box. This has already been softened. So what we do is
How do you soften it?
we put this in hot water, hot tap water for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we cool it with cold water so it stops cooking and let it dry overnight in the refrigerator. So we don't want to add more moisture to this mix. So then we'll add this. This is approximately 1 cup of wheat germ, and it's been then expanded because we've added water to it.
Got it. Okay.
Then we have hot relish. This is a combination of onions and hot peppers. You take the pepper raw, you take the onion raw, you chop it, put it into a blender, and it will come out like a relish. In each of these, you've got 1.5 teaspoons of each salt, allspice, and cinnamon. We add these together to this mix. This is ground lamb. It's cooked, the same coarse ground lamb. It's cooked and we add
Twice
pine
ground?
nuts.
Twice ground
This is
lamb?
once ground.
Once
This is
ground.
coarse
Oh,
ground. This is
okay.
twice ground.
Okay.
So what we do with this lamb is we saute it. We add the pine nuts very loosely.
there's pine nuts,
There's
okay.
pine nuts in this. We let it chill overnight because we have to add this to the center of our kibbee. This is what makes this a little bit more of an involved recipe because what we want to do is give textures and layers to the dish so it isn't just one large meatloaf.
Okay.
And then we're going to take 1/2 of this, spread that across the bottom of the pan,
Okay.
but like as a flat level. So this will just be, don't pat it in, just sprinkle it like this, Father.
go ahead, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, so you just mix it like this so that what ends up happening is you get this nice loose layer of the lamb all the way across the kibbee because when you bite into it, you want this texture. This is the part that we have to get right. It's the only technical part of the operation. So you're going to make this little golf ball size, you're going to spread it like this, thin like you would have, and then you're going to lay it down, spread them out, not connected, spread them out on the top of the pan because what we're trying to do is loosely cover this, almost like you're making a lattice work on top of a pie. That's perfect.
Like that? Okay.
At this point, you can see this looks a little bit choppy on top, but
Yeah.
we want this to be completely smooth. So
We
what we
do?
do is, so now you
More
have to
ice
wet your
water?
hand again, and you have to gently pat this down because we're going to eventually get this so that it's smooth across the top. So then what we do is we take a knife, and we take it because what we have to create is a scoring. So you push this knife in deep enough, not to go to the bottom, but to go about halfway through.
What's the purpose of this?
Because once this cooks, all of these scores become crispy at the edges, and that gives it another texture.
Uh-oh. All right, I went a little too far deep. I went too deep
Don't
there.
damage it now. We are so
Yeah,
close to the
we're
finish
close
line.
there.
I'm slicing butter, Father, and I'm slicing these approximately into teaspoon-sized slices because we're going to push these into, see like that?
Got it. Oh.
So now,
Oh, no.
you get a good index finger?
Oh, my God. You're going to put butter in the middle of all these?
We're poking
Yeah.
We're putting these, go ahead, put a few over on your side.
I don't know how many holes.
Well, just
They look
space them
like they're in
out.
lines or something. I
That's
don't
perfect. A couple more over there.
know. All right. Give me a second.
Yeah, now you're going to take this, you're going to shove one in each hole. We will save the lemons after this bakes because we have to bake this for 40 minutes at 450 degrees.
Wow. Okay.
It's a hot oven. Once this comes out, we're going to put lemons, we're going to put lemon juice on there.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll put it back under the broiler for 10 minutes. And that's why all these little lattice cuts become crispy. And so those scores we made earlier, you cut on those scores.
Yeah.
And then you end up with these nice small slices, and that's what we're going to eat.
Wonderful. Oh, man.
All right. So I'll use this fancy spatula here that we've got.
You know, it's great we're learning a lot about foster care and things that can, and you know, probably when you say it the way you do and explain it, that, you know, a kid with a garbage bag leaving his house,
Right.
What a sad illustration, a mental picture that really paints something very powerful.
It's tragic.
To think that, that those things happen, it's crazy. And so it's great that you've started to work on this wonderful project, not only as a Catholic and a deacon, but just, for everybody, for the good of all these little kids and not so little kids. You mentioned there's also teenagers who will get
Teenagers.
certain. Tell me it again, care.
It's care cases. Many people will say, I can't be a foster parent. My lifestyle, or we're too busy, but they can do something.
Yes.
That's what attracted me to this, because putting a small case together for a child is a way to give them some hope, and anybody can do that, and they can help us.
God bless this food.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah, amen. Oh.
By the way, you're officially Lebanese now.
Well, if this is the food we eat, that's fine with me.
Absolutely.
I love it all, man.
Well,
The butter, it's very rich, but I love that little taste to the top with that lemon on it that gives it that little punch,
Yep. And you can taste
Man.
the pepper in it.
Everything,
and
yeah.
Taste the wheat germ and the pine nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Thanks again, Deacon Paul.
Thank you, Father.
We're going to be back with more of our daily bread and learn more about foster care right after this, so don't go away. Welcome back to our daily bread. Today we're talking about foster care, and we're making some recipes which large groups or large families could enjoy. We started with a pasta dish with no dairy in it. Then Deacon Paul made a wonderful kibbee that he learned from his grandmother. And then we're making some pasta, one of the simplest pastas you can make, a very Roman-style dish called Cacio E Pepe. It's basically pasta with just cheese and pepper on it. And joining me in the kitchen right now is our friend Virginia Goodremote, who goes by Ginny. And Goodremote's a very well-known name in Western New York. I think of Sister Sharon Goodremote.
Yeah.
And that's a relation of yours?
She is my aunt. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Do you have any good influences on you during your life?
Well, she was also my godmother.
Oh,
so-
beautiful. Oh, good.
Yes.
Now, tell us what you do, Virginia. Ginny, your title?
My title is Director of Foster Care at Baker Victory Services.
Mm-hmm.
And there I oversee the foster care department with the social workers, and I also carry a very small caseload at the present time. But the goal is to continue to grow and have more social workers as well.
So tell people who might not know what Baker Victory Services is. There's a lot of viewers who are even out of the Western New York area who may not know what that is and the special kind of relationship that the whole ministry has with a guy by the name of Father Nelson Baker.
Yes, Father Nelson Baker started Father Baker's, which has evolved into Baker Victory Services. And we have several different programs out there. We have preventative programs, Bridges to Health programs, foster care. I mean, we have a residential program too for teenage girls and boys.
There's a lot of ministry from the years ago when Father Baker, and actually his cause for canonization is opened. He's considered Venerable Nelson Baker, and he had a great devotion to Our Lady of Victory.
Yes.
And he built a basilica in her honor in Lackawanna.
Yes.
But anyway, so this is all an outgrowth of the ministry that he started so many years ago with its roots in Catholic charitable kind of endeavors,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now, tell us about, foster care is kind of a mystery, I suppose, nowadays. we hear a lot of sad stories about things that happen with children all over the place. There's always something that just makes you cringe and think, how could anybody do this to a child?
Yes.
But in some cases, a type of child who would be in a difficult situation, how would they come into foster care?
Most of the children that Baker Victory Services work with are referred to us from Erie County. And whether it is one of those stories where it's neglect or abuse, but there's also situations where the family may, sort of are struggling with things and ask for the child to be placed temporarily. And that's where, through the county, we would get those referrals and then either placed with our foster families in that time. Foster care is a temporary placement for these children until they can be reunited with our family. That's the ultimate goal for us, is to reunite these children with their families and placement and working with them.
Now with foster care, what is the age group that you serve?
We can serve children anywhere from birth up until 21 years of age.
If somebody wanted to be a foster parent, how would they do it?
They would contact our agency and meet with our home finder. Our home finder with them would give them a little more information about our foster care program, answer any questions they have. We do have a 10-week pre-certification course too that they would attend, and in that course they would get a lot of more information about the roles and responsibilities of foster care. There are numerous necessary clearances and background checks that they would have to go through, and then also work with our home finder to sort of do an in-depth assessment of their family and their home to see what children would best match.
And how many children do you have in foster care now through Baker Victory Services?
Baker Victory Services have about 30 children right now in their care, ranging from probably 6 months, 2-3 months, up into, I think our oldest right now is 8. We have 2 18-year-olds. So.
You know what? We've been talking a lot, which is great, and I decided to make one of the simplest dishes that you can have. It's very popular, especially in Rome. First of all, our pasta is cooked. Yes, I'm going to drain it, but I'm going to take out a little bit of the pasta water first and reserve that here. And I'm doing that because we're going to use that when we mix our sauce, our cheese. And pasta water, of course, has the starch in it, so it's really a great way of thinning out a dish or making it a little bit creamier. So we've got a pound of spaghetti here. So Ginny, I'm going to ask you to pour in the cheese. That's about probably, dump it right in there. That's good. Yeah, I'm not real fussy.
Okay.
And this is a Pecorino Romano, which will add a salty flavor to it. And as I said, Pecorino Romano, fresh grated. You don't want to use from the box. Now I'm going to put just a little pasta water in there. And this is going to add the creaminess that we want for this dish, that little extra you need. And as you can see there, as I'm mixing that with the pasta water, the cheese is actually melting. So that's good. Okay, now let's plate this on our big family-style plate. Okay. Now you definitely want to use Pecorino Romano rather than like a Parmesan, and you don't want it to get too stringy. I'm going to actually put a little bit more cheese over the top because, there we go. And now the other part of the whole dish is the fresh ground pepper. And you're going to use kind of a lot of this, I'm going to say, So you got your pasta water, your pasta, your pepper. I'm going to mix that just a little bit in there. That's good. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of, actually I'm going to do the olive oil first. A little bit of olive oil, just an anointing with olive oil. There we go. All right. And that'll add a little bit of richness to it, and just a little fresh chopped parsley over the top. Doesn't that look pretty?
It looks delicious.
Looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. And again, it's not a hard dish to make, and you don't cook much, huh?
I cook some.
Okay, all right. Well, everybody cooks some.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. And we'll get some of this for us in just a second. But you were saying that you really need foster parents.
Yes, there's a definite need for foster families.
How does someone come forward and say, I'd like to be a foster parent?
They would contact our agency and ask for our home finder, who is Leanne Lapis, and her number is 828-9411.
So an area code 716-828-9411.
Or they can reach.
You must have a website,
Yes,
like
we do.
everybody, or Facebook or something.
Yes, we have a web page. It's bakervictoryservices.org, and on there they can go through our foster care program and also put in an inquiry through that as well.
Now, Deacon Paul's program, had you been familiar with that new idea?
Yes.
And what do you think of that? I mean,
I think it's a wonderful idea. That's one of my biggest concerns for some of our children that have been placed, or is that they do come in with absolutely nothing. So it's nice to know that there will be something for them.
boy, it's been so nice having both of you on the show today, but particularly you, Ginny. And even though you didn't cook anything, well, you're going to share a little food, huh?
Thank you.
You want to try this? Okay.
Of course.
Loving God, we thank you for this food, for the gift of family, and those who care for our children. And tell me what you think of this simple dish.
Very
Not
good.
much to it.
No, but very
But
good.
it's tasty. So about a pound of pasta, about 10, 12 ounces of cheese, a little olive oil, a little pepper, a little fresh parsley. You got a nice meal for an evening, especially for the family. And blessings to you and to your families and your friends as we once again conclude our daily bread. But we thank you for joining us. We thank our guests today. And why don't you try some of these recipes, which you can get it online. And we also love to hear from you. So go to our webpage or our Daybreak YouTube page. All those things are right on the screen now that you can let us know what you think of the show. Until next time, may God bless you all. Bye-bye now. That's our daily bread for today. Thank you for joining us. Thanks all to the guests.
Well, now that you've had the kibbee, you're officially Lebanese, Father.
Well, if
We're
I
like
can-
brothers.
Well, you made it sound good there for a second. But if this is the food, I'll be your brother. Yeah, great.
Are they back in the drawer? There they are.
Sit at the table, finish the
Thank you. This is really good.